The Great Gatsby, Sleepy Study Guide. Tonight, we're going to drift quietly through The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, so you can relax and still feel prepared for your exam or essay. This is a short novel filled with bright lights, loud parties, and very quiet disappointments. The story takes place in the 1920s in New York and on Long Island, during a time of jazz music, new money, and glittering excess. On the surface, everything seems glamorous. But underneath, nearly everyone is lonely, restless, or reaching for something they can't quite hold. The novel is told by Nick Carraway, a calm observer who moves to Long Island and becomes fascinated by his mysterious neighbor, J. Gatsby. A man who seems to have everything, but is still chasing something just out of reach. As you listen, you'll hear the shape of the story, the characters that matter most, the symbols and themes that exams love, and gentle ideas you can use for essays. There's no rush. Let your body get comfortable. Let your breathing slow. And let Gatsby's world come to you gently, one quiet scene at a time. Imagine a warm summer evening in 1922. Nick Carraway has rented a small house in West Egg, a place for the newly wealthy, right next door to a mansion where parties spill into the night, filled with music, lights, and strangers who come and go like moths. Across the bay is East Egg, where old money families like Tom and Daisy Buchanan live in elegant homes, holding on to their status and their carelessness. Nick visits his cousin Daisy and her husband Tom, and he senses something restless and unhappy beneath their wealth. Something uneasy beneath their polished life. Soon, Nick begins to notice his neighbor, J. Gatsby, a man who throws enormous parties where anyone can come, but who himself watches from a distance, always searching for someone. Eventually, Nick learns Gatsby's secret. All of his wealth, all of his parties, all of his careful image exist for one reason: for Daisy Buchanan, the woman he loved before the war, who now lives across the water with Tom. Gatsby believes that if he is rich enough, impressive enough, and patient enough, he can somehow repeat the past and win Daisy back. He believes the past can be recreated exactly as it was. Nick arranges a quiet meeting at his cottage. Gatsby and Daisy see each other again. Awkward at first, then more comfortable, as old feelings begin to return. For a moment, Gatsby's dream seems close enough to touch. But the tension grows. Tom becomes suspicious of Daisy and Gatsby. On a hot day, they all drive into New York City to a suite at the Plaza Hotel, where the conflict finally explodes. Gatsby insists that Daisy never loved Tom, that she always loved him instead. Daisy hesitates, torn and confused, unable to fully choose. On the drive back to Long Island, Daisy is at the wheel of Gatsby's yellow car when Tom's mistress, Myrtle Wilson, runs into the road. The car hits Myrtle and keeps going. Myrtle dies, and George Wilson, her husband, is left shattered. Gatsby is willing to take the blame, still protecting Daisy. But in the end, Daisy returns to Tom, and they retreat into their money and their distance from consequences. Misled and broken, George Wilson is told that Gatsby's car killed Myrtle. He goes to Gatsby's mansion, shoots Gatsby in his pool, and then kills himself. The noisy parties stop. The house grows quiet. Almost no one comes to Gatsby's funeral. Nick, seeing how careless and empty Tom and Daisy really are, decides to leave this world behind and return to the Midwest. As you relax, let's consider the people in this story and what they represent. Nick Carraway. Picture Nick Carraway as a quiet observer, standing slightly apart from the glitter. He is both inside and outside this world, drawn to Gatsby's hope and charm, but also disturbed by the carelessness and dishonesty he sees in Tom and Daisy. He is the narrator, the moral observer, a man who watches and judges, even when he claims not to. J. Gatsby, born James Gatz, has remade himself into a wealthy, polished man, calling everyone old sport and pretending he has always belonged among the rich. Underneath the parties and the rumors, Gatsby is still a dreamer who cannot let go of the past he shared with Daisy. He represents the American dream, hope, reinvention, and the belief that you can become anyone you want to be. But the novel also shows the limits of that dream. Daisy Buchanan's voice is described as full of money. She is graceful and enchanting, beautiful and charming, but often emotionally distant. She retreats into a soft, vague manner instead of making hard choices. When things become difficult, she chooses comfort and safety with Tom over the risky dream Gatsby offers. Tom Buchanan stands for old money and power. He is physically strong, aggressive, and openly racist and sexist. He enjoys his affairs and his control over others, and he walks away from the damage he causes, never facing consequences. Tom represents entitlement, carelessness, and the way wealth can protect people from their own cruelty. Myrtle and George Wilson live in the Valley of Ashes, far from the glittering parties. Myrtle wants desperately to climb into the world of wealth and style. She's reaching for something beyond her grasp. George is worn down, quiet, and struggling to survive. Their lives show what happens to people without money in a world that worships it. They are the working-class victims, the ones who pay the price for the carelessness of the rich. Let your thoughts rest now on a few of the main ideas in The Great Gatsby. The American Dream. One central theme is the American dream, the belief that anyone can rise, succeed, and find happiness through effort and desire. Gatsby seems to live that dream, rising from poverty to great wealth. But his dream is tied to Daisy, and to an idealized past that reality cannot match. Fitzgerald shows the American dream as corrupted by wealth and class. Success doesn't bring fulfillment. It brings emptiness instead. Another important theme is class and social division. The novel separates people into old money, like Tom and Daisy in East Egg, new money like Gatsby and West Egg, and the struggling poor, like the Wilsons in the Valley of Ashes. No matter how rich Gatsby becomes, Tom still sees him as an outsider. And the Wilsons remain trapped in poverty. Old money always wins. New money is tolerated. The poor are crushed. Illusion and reality shape almost every character. Gatsby invents a glamorous past. Daisy presents herself as delicate and helpless. And even Nick sometimes hides his judgment behind a calm tone. Nearly everyone pretends, until the truth catches up. The story slowly reveals that beneath the bright surface are lies, affairs, and carelessness. The novel also explores carelessness, the way those with money leave destruction behind them. Tom and Daisy are careless people. They smash up things and creatures and then retreat back into their money, letting other people clean up the mess they've made. Now let's consider the symbols. The green light at the end of Daisy's dock is one of the most famous symbols in American literature. For Gatsby, it represents Daisy, his hopes, and his belief that he can reach a perfect future with her. It is always visible across the water, but never reachable. By the end, the green light also suggests how unreachable and fragile those dreams are. The distance between dreams and reality. The Valley of Ashes is a gray, industrial wasteland between West Egg and New York City. It symbolizes what is left behind by the rich pursuit of pleasure and money. Moral decay, social decay, the cost of wealth. It stands for the forgotten lives of people like George and Myrtle Wilson, the people crushed by the ambitions of the rich. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckleburg stare out from a faded billboard above the Valley of Ashes. They look like a pair of giant, watching eyes, and some characters see them as a kind of judgment or a sign of a moral presence. But in the end, they are only a sign, not a real God. They suggest that there may be no true moral authority in this world at all, just the absence of real judgment. Gatsby's parties are also symbolic. They are loud, full, and empty. People come for pleasure, not connection. They drink his liquor and dance to his music. But they don't know him. They don't care about him. When he dies, almost none of them come to his funeral. Now, let's think gently about how you might write about this novel. Here are a few common essay angles, each with a simple thesis you can build on. A common prompt asks, how does the Great Gatsby criticize the American dream? Here's a gentle thesis idea you can use. In The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald shows the American dream as corrupted by wealth and class. Using Gatsby's failed pursuit of Daisy, the emptiness of the Buchanans' lives, and the suffering of the Wilsons to suggest that the dream is more illusion than reality. If you write this essay, you can point to Gatsby's rise from James Gats to J. Gatsby. It looks like success. But his death and the way Daisy and Tom walk away untouched show that the dream is deeply unfair. Success without moral grounding leads to emptiness rather than fulfillment. Another prompt might ask, how does the novel explore social class and inequality? Here's a thesis idea. Through the contrast between East Egg, West Egg, and the Valley of Ashes, the novel reveals a rigid class system in which old money characters like Tom maintain power. New money figures like Gatsby are never fully accepted. And working class characters like the Wilsons are destroyed by the ambitions of the rich. You can organize this essay by discussing each location. East Egg represents security and cruelty. West Egg represents ambition and outsider status. The Valley of Ashes represents who pays the price. A third type of prompt asks you to analyze how Fitzgerald uses symbolism to develop a central theme. Here's a gentle thesis. Fitzgerald's use of the green light, the Valley of Ashes, and the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckleburg shows how dreams, moral decay, and the absence of real justice shape the world of the novel, reinforcing the idea that wealth cannot hide the emptiness and corruption beneath the surface. If you write this essay, focus on one or two symbols in depth. Explain what they represent. Connect them to the novel's larger themes. Show how they illustrate the distance between illusion and reality. A fourth type of question asks, in what sense is Gatsby great? And in what sense is he not? Here's a possible thesis. Gatsby is great in his capacity for hope and his willingness to dream beyond his beginnings. But the novel also suggests that his greatness is flawed because his dream is based on illusion, materialism, and a woman who cannot live up to the image he created. This essay lets you explore both sides. Gatsby's hope is extraordinary. His loyalty is admirable. But his dream is unrealistic. And that's part of what makes him tragic. As you drift towards sleep, you only need to remember a few simple things about the Great Gatsby. It is the story of Nick Carraway, watching Jay Gatsby chase an impossible dream of love and success in a glittering, careless world. The important ideas are the broken American dream, the power of class and money, and the difference between the bright illusion of Gatsby's parties and the darker truth underneath. If you can recall Gatsby's dream of Daisy and the green light, the emptiness of Tom and Daisy's life, and the gray valley of ashes where the Wilsons live, you will be ready for many exam and essay questions on this novel. Let those images fade gently as you rest. The lights dim. The story settles. You've done enough for tonight.